Imagine you're sleeping in your bed late one night when suddenly your house is broken into. You're kidnapped and taken away from your family. You're shoved into a small cage and forced to perform. You protest, you're hit. You protest again, you're stabbed with a bullhook and left bleeding. Traveling around and performing until you eventually die, a most likely gruesome and premature death. Having animals in the circus is a highly controversial subject that should be made illegal. The story of Jumbo, America's first circus elephant, was the jumpstart of a long battle for animals in captivity facing abusive conditions and a life far removed from home. Jumbo is a prime example of why having animals as a circus act should be banned. Jumbo arrived in New York on April 9, 1882, and was P.T. Barnum's lead to fame. Jumbo lived almost his entire life in captivity and died as a direct result from the circus and human intervention. According to the Barnum Museum exhibition website, Jumbo was purchased after much British outrage for a hefty $10,000, and after the 2-week journey across the Atlantic Ocean, he toured all of the U.S. and Canada for the next few years. After learning of his purchase, the London Daily Telegraph wrote, "No more quiet garden strolls. No more trees, no more green lawns and flowery thickets. Our amiable monster must dwell in a tent, take part in the routine of a circus, and instead of his bygone friendly trots with British boys and girls, and perpetual luncheons on buns and oranges, must amuse a Yankee mob and put up with peanuts and waffles." At the time of his purchase, Jumbo was 11.5 feet tall and weighed 7 tons. Yet he traveled in a train car. After only 4 seasons of traveling, Jumbo met his fate. According to Tufts University, there is much controversy over his death. However, in summary, Jumbo was hit by a traveling train car. On September 15, 1885, while the circus was loading animals onto their cars, tragedy struck. Fence along the track had been removed, allowing for a simple load-up across another set of tracks. Speeding towards the circus ground was an unscheduled express freight. Unable to get away in time, the elephant was struck head-on and died shortly after from massive injuries. According to National Geographic, the median lifespan of African elephants in the zoo is 17 years, in comparison to 56 years of a wild elephant. In specific, African elephants are now much rarer, so it's even more important that we keep them out of the circus. It's not clear why captive-bred elephants live half as long as their wild counterparts. However, if these elephants are dying before they can even breed, it's not sustainable. If Jumbo was not taken from his natural habitat for the sole purpose of profit and human enjoyment, he could have lived beyond only 24 years. Jumbo's living conditions were not natural, and they eventually led to his early death. For pure enjoyment, America's first African elephant was brought to the country in 1882 to be part of the Ringling Circus, and he suffered a horrible death as a result. This specific event is just one of the many, and is seen to spark our fascination with captive animals. Beyond the story of Jumbo, today's circus animals are still traveling the country in small, cramped spaces far away from their real homes. According to the Ringling website, animals in Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey travel 30,000 miles for 11 months and visit more than 140 cities in North America. Traveling animals have little access to basic requirements, and conditions while traveling allow for very little movement. Train carts and constant traveling allow for limited feeding times, and veterinarians are rarely around. According to the large size of a circus such as Ringling, they employ 1 veterinarian technician to travel with the show and 2 full-time veterinarians between 2 units. Overall, they currently employ 90 veterinarians, according to their website. However, according to PETA, an incident in December 2014 occurred when Ringling ignored veterinarians' orders. 3 elephants had chronic painful health conditions that required daily treatment, but an inspection reported by the USDA stated that they could not receive daily treatment because their caretaker cannot access them when they're confined to boxcars. These 3 elephants missed treatment for up to 4 days. Foot problems and lameness is the number one reason for euthanasia in elephants in the circus. One of these elephants was diagnosed with lameness at the age of 9, and yet she continues to be forced to perform. Wild animals are naturally active and do not belong in boxcars. According to LCA.org, wild elephants walk up to 40 miles a day. In the wild, chimpanzees travel in unit groups of up to 60 individuals. Elephants in boxcars have their legs chained to be sure they do not take more than one step. They can be stuck in these boxcars for as long as 60 to 70 hours at a time. When taken from their normal environments, where animals like chimps and elephants can socialize, they suffer intellectually. Effects of confinement are seen both physically and mentally. Despite minimum living standards, regulations are not always followed, and having wild animals in small enclosed spaces restricts them from a normal life. Other than indirect abuses suffered by animals, there are various intentional abuses. Animals are often abused and beaten into submission when they do something wrong or do not seem to be learning a new foreign trick quick enough. Although there are acts in place to prevent cruel punishments, they do allow a certain degree of punishment to be used while training. Animals are beaten in order to learn tricks. Under the Animal Welfare Act, trainers are still allowed to use bull hooks, whips, electric prods, and other devices. Veterinarians are not always helping animals for the greater good. In order to help make an animal more manageable, they are often drugged, declawed, and their teeth are removed. According to a testimony from a previous trainer of Ringling, animals are casually abused and bullhooks are stabbed into sensitive parts of their creatures such as ears, trunks, and torsos. According to the USDA, the Ringling owner paid $270,000 for violations to the AWA. Constant abuse can further stress the already upset animals, leading them to act out. Some animals attack trainers. In 1994, one elephant escaped from the circus while carrying 3 children on his back. This elephant was shot 47 times and killed. Animals in captivity pose a huge threat to humans training them, and it appears that the opposite goes as well. Humans training animals inflict unnecessary pain to the creatures they are trying to contain. Many animals struggle learning things they're not meant to be doing in the first place. Why cause them more mental stress and harm by trying to teach them? Animals in the circus suffer cruel and abusive punishments while in captivity, creating harm to humans and animals alike. It's clear to see from the instances given that regulations to protect animals are not holding their ground. Animals in captivity live a much lower quality of life compared to in the wild. Through the start of the circus animals like Jumbo and his premature death to the cramped and unnatural living spaces, all the way to the physical direct abuse by trainers, animals should be banned from performing in the circus. Voiceless creatures, the show mustn't go on. Animals are not puppets. Who's going to speak for animals facing torturing conditions in captivity, if not us?